Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
Last night's rain is gone, but tonight we could see a repeat. I'll show you what time and how much we might see.
School job cuts. Positions in Wake County schools could be cut under the superintendent's new proposed budget. The other areas where the district hopes to find additional funding that are under review today.
And tragic COVID-19 death. Today marks 5 years since the first person in our area died from COVID. How his family is remembering their loss half a decade later. And his wife talks about their journey of heartbreak and one of resilience. A lot to tell you about this morning, and we welcome you to your Tuesday. I'm Renee Chu.
And I'm Jeff Hogan. Thanks for making us part of your routine here as we get going. A little bit like yesterday in that we will see some rain, but not until later today. Elizabeth Gardner in the WRS Severe Weather Center right now with a look at that radar.
Here's a look at the big picture. Yesterday's front zipped on out of here and allowed our skies to clear overnight. Now, there was still some lingering moisture, so you could run into some patchy fog out there, but for the most part, this high pressure builds in and should bring us a good bit of sunshine for today. A little bit of clouds starting to develop. I can see back there to our north and west, and then this system will roll through as a disturbance and bring us some rain overnight tonight. This is a look at the timeline. In our northwestern counties, it could start as early as between 5 and 6 o'clock, into the triangle between 7 and 8, and then moving out of the viewing area around midnight to 1 a.m. This is a live look at downtown Raleigh. It looks like we're fairly dry here on Fayetteville Street as we take a look from our Jimmy V camera, but coming down Western Boulevard this morning, I did see a little bit of patchy fog. You could run into some too. The lighter the wind is where you are, the better chance of some fog. 47 is our current temperature in the triangle. It does look like our winds are starting to drop in a few places, Roxborough, the triangle, Clinton, and up around South Hill. So over the next hour or two, we might see these numbers changing. Right now, visibility is at 10 miles, which we would consider clear. But we'll just keep watching it through the morning. Looking at 63 at lunchtime with a high in the low 70s. Behind tonight's system, temperatures turn cooler. I'll show you when we could see some patchy frost. Chris?
And Elizabeth, this morning at 6:02, keeping an eye on some of the roads that are still a little bit wet after last night's rain. Not seeing any ponding, no concern of hydroplaning, but this is really an indication of where we could see some of that patchy fog that Elizabeth was telling you guys about, especially near lakes, rivers, some of those low-lying spots. But as of this morning, 6 o'clock, no major issues. We'll continue to follow things into the peak morning commute hours with updates on 101.5 HD3 anywhere in the triangle.
Covering Wake County today, school system leaders will consider proposed budget changes that might cut several positions. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey is live outside Wake County Schools headquarters this morning, and the superintendent's cuts could help the district pay for new schools and a rise in incoming students. Kelsey?
Yes, Jeff, that's the idea behind all of this. And we will hear from school leaders for the first time after hearing about Superintendent Robert Taylor's budget proposal. So they're going to meet here at the district headquarters a little bit later today. Last week, we told you about how the superintendent is proposing to cut several positions, including some high school secretary roles. This way, the district can afford more students, new schools, and increase pay. For now, the plan would be to keep some of those employees on the payroll. They would just have different positions since their current roles would be cut. The superintendent also wants to request more money from the county. WRAL Education Insider Emily Walkenhorst explains school leaders' response to possible federal funding cuts.
School district officials and the school board are basically acting as if they're going to have the same federal funding level for some of the normal, typical things that they get. Title I funding for schools that have higher concentration of lower income students, students with disabilities.
School leaders are only offering their feedback today. There will not be a vote, but the district's final budget proposal is due in May. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News, live in Cary.
Today, the Wake County School Board will, for the first time, talk about a new draft policy to restrict cell phone use in schools. Right now, schools set their own rules for cell phones, but teachers and parents say they aren't working. The school board wants to set its own policy for all schools. The district proposed one that would require phones to be turned off or to be on silent the entire day, with just a few exceptions. Two bills in the General Assembly that are looking to require school boards to do this have bipartisan support. One will go before the House later today. For more on what Wake County is trying to do and what parents and experts think about it, go to the education section of WRAL.com. We will have full reports on the big updates that come out of today's school board meeting and how they will affect your child's experience at school. Watch WRAL News from 4 to 7:30 this evening.
A child who was shot at a Fayetteville carnival is in critical condition. This happened Saturday night off Cliffdale Road. Fayetteville Mayor Mitch Colvin says because it happened early in the evening, a curfew wouldn't have been relevant in this case. He supports curfews in certain situations, but says a broader approach might have been more effective here.
We know that carnivals are going to attract a number of people. We want to encourage them to come to our community. However, we do need to talk about the security plans and if they have officers on or off duty. Not saying that could have prevented it, but that's part of the conversation.
Mayor Colvin says he is willing to talk to the family to offer any assistance the city can provide.
Today marks 5 years since the first COVID-19 death in our area. 37-year-old Adrian Grubbs died March 25th, 2020. He was a Raleigh City worker who lived in Harnett County. He left behind his wife Chanda and 3 children. The youngest was just 4 months old at the time. Only on WRAL, his wife shares seeing their children grow up has helped the grief become easier to bear over time.
His kids, they were the joy, the love of his life. I see a lot of his personality in each of them.
Grubbs says her husband had underlying health conditions, including high blood pressure, that likely made his condition worse. The Grubbs were unable to hold a funeral or memorial service after his death. No mass gatherings were allowed at that time. And in the years since, they have held balloon releases in the days surrounding the 25th.
Some state lawmakers want to get social media off the phones of younger teens. Today, a proposal to ban social media accounts for children under 14 is up for discussion in a House committee. 14 and 15-year-olds would have to get parental permission to have a social media account. Parents would be able to shut it down as well. The law would apply to apps like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, and YouTube. Social media companies who don't comply with the law could be subject to a $50,000 fine. They could also be sued by a user's parents.
Happening today, NC State will introduce Will Wade as its new men's basketball coach. WRAL's Laura Levine is live at Reynolds Coliseum this morning. And Laura, Wade has had pretty much success everywhere he's been. The Wolfpack hopes that will continue in Raleigh.
Good morning, Renee. Will Wade will be formally introduced here at Reynolds Coliseum as the next men's basketball head coach. We know that he signed that 6-year deal and will become the Pack's 21st leader of the program. Now, Wade is coming from McNeese State from the Southland Conference, where he led the Cowboys to the big dance for the last 2 seasons. This year, he beat Clemson to move on to the round of 32 before they were eliminated by Purdue. Wade has experience coaching a Power 4 team. He was at LSU from 2017 to 2022, and that's when he was let go because of allegations of recruiting violations. He will be introduced here at Reynolds Coliseum at 1 p.m. This event is not open to the public. However, it will be live streamed. Fans will have the opportunity to take some photos with the new head coach today following that event at 3 p.m. here on campus. Laura Levine, WRAL News, live in Raleigh.
And how great is it? All 3 of our Triangle teams have advanced on the women's side. We will see a battle of the blues in NCAA women's basketball tournament with 3-seeded UNC playing 2nd-seeded Duke in the round of 16 Friday in Birmingham, Alabama. They'll tip it up at 2:30 in the afternoon. The Tar Heels advanced by way of a 58-47 win over West Virginia last night at Carmichael Arena. They've played Duke twice already this season, and they have split those outcomes. Whoever wins the 3rd matchup will advance to the tournament's round of 8 this weekend. NC State Wolfpack also on the way to the round of 16. They advanced with an 83-49 drubbing of Michigan State yesterday at Reynolds Coliseum. They will play LSU in the next round in Spokane, Washington. That game is Friday night at 7 o'clock.
Today, the Trump administration is facing questions after the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic magazine says he was added to a group text discussing war plans. Jeffrey Goldberg wrote about the experience of being added to a group chat on the secure messaging app Signal. The texts appear to come from Vice President Vance, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and several other prominent officials in the Trump cabinet. They were talking about plans to launch airstrikes against Houthi militants in Yemen. Goldberg says he was initially skeptical of the messages and then later left the group chat after concluding they were real. The National Security Council now confirms the messages are authentic, and the council is reviewing how an inadvertent number was added to that group text. Loss of health insurance. That's a possibility for some in North Carolina who benefit from Medicaid. The change is being considered by lawmakers.
Also at 6:10, an expanding Marbles Kids Museum. The downtown family destination is getting bigger. We'll have a look at the plans and when they plan to get started on this massive addition.
And this morning, temperatures are fairly comfortable. As the kids are headed out the door, temperatures will be mid-40s to right around 50 degrees. We're mainly clear, but there could be some patchy fog. Beautiful afternoon with high temperature close to 70. But coming up, I'll talk about how much rain we could see tonight.
As you get into your car, tune to WRAL News Plus on your radio. In Raleigh on 99.3 FM. In Durham, 96.5 FM. And everywhere on 101.5 HD3.
6:13, and this morning our temperatures are mostly in the mid-40s to right around 50 degrees. A little bit of a breeze. There is some patchy fog in some places, but none of it is widespread. We're not seeing it on the cameras or really on the sensors, but I did see a little bit of it coming into work this morning, so be on the lookout for that. A jacket walking the dog this morning should be pretty comfortable. 6 o'clock around 47 in the Triangle. By 8 o'clock we're climbing back up to around 51, and it should be a nice afternoon. Our high temperature climbs up to around 70. And then this evening, starting around 5 or 6 o'clock in our north and western counties, we begin to see another round of rain. Really a repeat of yesterday. That rain picks up and moves through the Triangle around 7 or 8 o'clock and then moves out by around midnight or so. Coming up, we'll talk about how much we could see out of this band.
And Elizabeth, thankfully, the rain avoiding both major commutes so far on our morning commute heading into the capital city. There's no major delays, just a 1-minute delay coming in from Wake Forest. Usually as we head into next hour, you start to see that delay time pick up a little bit coming in from Wake Forest and Nightdale. Meanwhile, if you were to head into the Bowl City, the story remains the same. No major delays out there, just a little bit of that road spray from last night's rain, but so far so good. If there's any changes, we'll let you know on 101.5 HD3 on the radio.
Chris, thank you. Hundreds of thousands of people in North Carolina could be at risk for losing their health insurance. Medicaid Deputy Secretary Jay Ludlam shared his concerns during a celebration of the Affordable Care Act's 15th anniversary. He says the proposed federal budget is looking to trim $880 billion over the next decade. And if there are changes to the newly expanded Medicaid system in North Carolina, more than 640,000 people could be cut.
Local legislators have expressed really no option other than what we have currently. So there is no plan, no backup plan by local legislators to move forward with something other than expansion, as it is.
Senator Tom Tillis's office released a statement about looking at ways to improve Medicaid. It reads in part, any proposal should be focused on addressing fraud, waste, and abuse, eliminating administrative burdens, and improving the delivery of care.
The FBI is issuing a warning for Tesla owners as the number of attacks on the cars is growing across the country, as well as here in North Carolina. The FBI launched a task force to investigate the attacks. Yesterday, investigators found explosives outside a Tesla showroom in Austin, Texas. And locally, several incidents of vandalism on Teslas have been reported. In Zebulon, a Tesla driver says someone shot his driver's side window with a BB gun late Sunday night. The sheriff's office says there's no indication the car was targeted because it was a Tesla. Regardless, though, the car's owner says he is considering selling it now that the brand has become tied to politics.
We have a family, we got kids, so who knows if that would have gone through and I was driving with my kids or, it would have hit my buddy or something. So definitely something dangerous and definitely something to consider for sure moving forward.
And another Tesla driver contacted WRAL to report someone carved the word Nazi onto his Tesla near Fuquay Varina. Both drivers say they bought their cars before there was any controversy over Elon Musk.
A family destination in downtown Raleigh is getting even bigger. Marbles Kids Museum plans to add 2 new stories and even more fun for families. Marbles released renderings yesterday for the largest expansion project in its history. It will include a new immersive exhibit, a multi-purpose classroom, and a new rooftop exhibit. The new building would be able to serve 100,000 more visitors each year. Museum leaders say they need to expand capacity because demand is high.
We've gotten to the point where we're having to turn families away on really busy days, and that's just not the business that we want to be in.
It's so popular because they make play fun and educational. A fundraising campaign for the project has raised $8.5 million. Marbles officials say they still need another $500,000. The plan is to break ground later this year and open the doors in 2026. A lot of families looking forward to that. It is 6:18 on your Tuesday morning. Let's get to meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner and a dry start to our Tuesday.
It's nice and quiet out there. A little bit of a breeze is likely keeping some fog down. We did have some rain overnight last night, and we see that much moisture in the atmosphere. Sometimes we see fog in the morning. It's a little patchy fog on my drive in up Western Boulevard this morning, but I'm not seeing any of it on the cameras. Fayetteville, Raleigh, Apex, Chapel Hill, all mainly clear. Chapel Hill's courtesy of Top of the Hill Restaurant. We do have a repeat of last night in store for tonight. We have the chance of some patchy morning fog, not likely to be widespread. We'll see some sunshine for a good chunk of the day, but late afternoon, the clouds will thicken up ahead of our next system, and we'll likely see some rain starting as early as 5 o'clock, lasting until around midnight or 1 a.m., depending on where you are. There's yesterday's front sliding on out, high pressure system building in, bringing us some sunshine. There's a little bit of cloud cover, though, streaming in already from the system that is headed our way for tonight, so we will see some clouds at least on and off. Should be some bright times, though, during the afternoon. This is around 3 o'clock this afternoon, and then we'll see this disturbance swinging through. It's likely to start to move into our northwestern counties as early as around 5 o'clock. Could be a little later than that. Between 7 and 8, moving into the triangle, and then sliding eastward around 9 and 10, and gradually pulling out of the viewing area around midnight to 1 a.m. In terms of how much rain we see, it's likely to be pretty similar to what we saw yesterday, with more widespread amounts of around 1/10 of an inch, but we could see as much as 1/4 of an inch. And, we had 2 rounds yesterday, so we saw as much as 1/2 an inch in a few places yesterday. Looking ahead to the weekend, we are looking at some cooler temperatures until we get to Saturday, when we'll climb up to 81 degrees. Looking at 80s again on Sunday, but we may wrap up the day with some scattered thunderstorms. As a matter of fact, Sunday's chance for severe storms is to our west, but late Sunday into Monday, we're now looking at the potential for some severe storms. This is a look at Sunday morning, and we're dry in the morning, but then we start to see the rain and thunderstorms moving on in, and that may linger into Monday as a cold front comes through. Let's talk temperatures. It's going to be cooler for tomorrow and Thursday, with highs only in the mid-60s, and we could see some frost on Thursday morning. I'll show you who's more likely to see it coming up. Chris?
And Elizabeth, this morning working with our engineers to fix some of our camera issues. In the meantime, wanted to show you Maine this morning. This is Route 6 in Munson, where they're dealing with quite a bit of snow. That's put some things in perspective, that at least our morning commute is absolutely nothing like that. No major delays on I-87 coming in from Knightdale and Zebulon heading into the capital city. This tends to be one of our slow spots, at least about an hour from now. It's when you tend to see more of those delays popping up. That also is the case on US 1 south coming in from Wake Forest. Just a 1-minute delay right now. No major issues this morning. Let's keep it that way as you make your way through your morning commute. Listen to us, 101.5 HD3 on the radio.
Thanks, Chris. Getting her star. Trisha Yearwood is officially on the Walk of Fame, the celebration they held for this big honor.
And celebrity mansion sale. Stevie Wonder's former home is on the market. A look at the 6-bedroom home where the esteemed musician raised his children.
And a snack food slowdown. Ahead on today, how weight loss drugs are changing eating trends and what snack companies are doing to stay afloat.
First, here's a look at your winning lottery numbers. Don't go away. We'll be back with What's Trending.
This What's Trending report, sponsored by Rug & Home.
A new addition to the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Also, a celebrity's mansion is up for sale. It is time now for a look at what is trending. And country music superstar Trisha Yearwood has the newest star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. It was unveiled yesterday in front of Capitol Records. Yearwood has sold millions of albums and won multiple Grammy, CMA, and ACM awards.
Yeah, there was a whole ceremony for it, and when Trisha Yearwood took to the podium, she dedicated much of her speech to her husband, Garth Brooks, of about 2 decades. And Garth Brooks was like wiping away tears and getting all emotional, but she is a star.
I think it's cute they put her star right near his on the Walk of Fame.
Yeah, they go together. And the home where Stevie Wonder and his second wife, Kai Millard, raised their children is up for sale. The 6-bedroom Calabasas, California home is listed for $15 million. The house features a custom pool, a large marble kitchen island, and sits on more than 2.5 acres. It's, over 11,000 square feet. So, Jeff, about the size of your house.
Yeah. It sounds delightful. The return on investment for them is going to be a little better than mine. They bought it in the year 2000 and paid under $3 million for it. So I think they're going to make a pretty penny on that.
I was looking at the pictures. It is beautifully decorated. It's newly renovated, by the way. A lot of white.
Yeah, I like it. It's a lot of white, yeah.
Very sleek.
A group of high schoolers from the Triangle took home the title of North Carolina's top junior chefs. The Knights of Culinary team from Durham Public Schools Northern High won first place at this year's competition. They made a Chipotle beef and sweet potato skillet. Yes, please. Now the students advanced to compete at the regional level. The Southeast Junior Chef competition will be at Sullivan University in Kentucky this May.
I will volunteer to be a taste tester.
Right?
A Wake County deputy's run on NBC's The Voice has come to an end. Deputy Robert Hunter made a brief appearance in last night's battle round. This is where 2 contestants do a duet, and the judges pick one of them to stay in the competition. Unfortunately, Hunter was not chosen to advance. When WRAL interviewed Hunter last month, he encouraged his fans to chase their dreams and have confidence in themselves.
We're looking at breezy conditions this afternoon, and that means high fire danger again. We have so many fires still burning in the western part of the state. I'll show you how strong our winds will be today coming up.
And new cell phone policy. Wake County Schools is considering a new rule today, how it would change the rules previously set on a school-to-school basis.
Plus, Polk County fires. Wildfires in the mountains have destroyed thousands of acres. The local fire crews on the way to western North Carolina to help with the containment efforts.